Now, the second panel is called From Zero to Hero, How Are Successful Startups Being Built? And also we will have a moderator. She is a partner, head of energy, projects and environment, Romania, Central and Eastern Europe, deputy head of energy, projects and construction section group. She has nearly 20 years international experience and her practice focuses on the oil and gas, electricity and mineral resources sector. She is the founder and CEO of Energynomics and also partner at CMS law firm, Ms. Varinia Radu. And the distinguished speakers of the second panel, Mr. Andrei PITIŠ, CEO and founder of VectorWatch, founder of Simple Capital. Mr. Adrian ERIMESCU, co-founder and CEO of Imobiliare.ro and Growceanu Angel Investment. Mr. Mircea, co-founder SmartBill.ro. Ms. Ana Maria STANCU, robot fleet Amiral. And Mr. Ionuț Cristian CIUBOTARU, Vice President of Business Development, OMV Petrom. Thank you very much to all of you. Have a nice panel.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation to moderate this panel today with the distinguished guests. I'd like to invite each of them to say a few words on their business and a few ideas, let's say, on what their recent preoccupations are. I think if I may, I will like to say that to my right, Mr. Adrian PITIŠ is probably very well known by now for the business VectorWatch that has been sold to PITIFIT, and he's, if I may say, a serial entrepreneur with several other businesses, but also supporting other entrepreneurs with angel investments, and he's obviously not the only one, but I'd like to pass on the floor to tell us a few words in introduction, a few minutes, and then we'll continue. Thank you.
Hi everybody, it's good to be here on the stage. Thank you for the invitation. I guess that we'll be speaking today about entrepreneurship, even though I have been investing also in businesses. Let's say today I'm going to talk about things that I've learned during starting up and exiting VectorWatch. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, about something that wasn't said was that I was the first angel in Clever Taxi, that is also a little bit known, and that I build businesses, I sell them to strategics mostly, and then I stay there for a while. So I have a career that spans entrepreneurship and then being an executive at a company like Fitbit, for instance. So this is the perspective from which I will be sharing my insights.
Thank you. Mr. Adrian ERIMESCU, co-founder and CEO Imobiliare.ro, among other things, please, and also Growceanu Angel Investment.
Yes, thank you for inviting me at this nice event. I'm basically an entrepreneur. I've built Imobiliare.ro and then exited. And this way I had the money to start investing, and Growceanu, it's an angel investing platform that I've built together with other entrepreneurs with previous exits to help early stage startups to grow, basically. This is me.
Great. Mrs. Ana Maria STANCU, robot fleet, robotics, and also a promoter of policy in this field, please.
Hello, thank you for the invitation today. Like it was said, the company is called Bucharest Robots. It was founded in 2017, and it's the first company in Romania dedicated to humanoid and service robots. But among other things, because my background is in political science, I am very active in advocating for digitalization in Romania and as much as I can for robotics and automation. It's not easy, but it's part of the job, and probably later I will tell how this comes into the mission of the startup. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mircea Căpățână, co-founder SmartBill, please.
I'm not sure it's working.
Yes,
okay.
I think so.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here. Alongside Radu and Ioana Hasan, I co-founded SmartBill like 16 years ago. And ever since, we've been on this ride that has been fun and also difficult at times. We received an investment, it's almost 7 years ago, and since then we also made an exit. So I'm happy to talk about whatever I can with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, Mr. Ionuț Cristian CIUBOTARU, Vice President Business Development OMV Petrom and leader in new technologies. I think we share the same industry, so we'll have a lot of common ground to cover. Please, a few words.
Yes. Hello. Warm thanks also from my side for the invitation. Very nice event and very nice venue, actually. Yes, it looks like I'm the only one representing corporation here. We can talk about entrepreneurship also within corporation, which I will not do today actually, but we can. What we will do and what I will expect to have on the discussion today is our role in developing the entrepreneurs and developing the startups.
Great, thank you. All right, so of course, I guess a lot have been said already on the venture capital market in Romania, and apologies if I repeat anything, but as far as I understood, the last year has marked a sort of a threshold that Romanian venture capital market went above the 100 million. With a threefold growth. So this is a good, obviously, good sign and encouraging for other entrepreneurs. I think I'd like to ask Mr. PITIŠ here how competitive Romania still is in the IT, because this is the field that you know best, and how can we still maintain our competitivity in order to create more unicorns and more businesses like yours in this field?
Yeah, so I think that the Romanian IT competitiveness comes from, a while back when we were, because we have very good schools of engineering, so a lot of companies established here to build software. My opinion is that even though the salaries have grown, so there's because of that actually, and because now we have VC investments, we can now build our own businesses, right? So instead of building software for other businesses, that was the case in the past, since a few years ago, a lot of entrepreneurs started to build their own businesses. Now, of course, that there are a few domains and a few successful businesses here on stage that have Romania as their target market. I think that those are in very short supply. I think that if you're number one on the local market, you can make it and you're great, but you have to be number one. Otherwise, the technology market in Romania is small. But I think Romania is still a great place to build the product. So what I encourage young entrepreneurs is to spend time abroad in other markets that are bigger. And I'm not talking just about America. I mean, there's a lot of countries in Europe, and even, Middle East, Israel, where there's a good market to sell technology because the labor market is still very, very expensive. So you can sell technology that would help humans do their job better, for instance. And because of that, I encourage entrepreneurs to spend time there, to look at the problems that they can solve in those economies with technology, and to come then back home and build a product here and get investments here. because the VC funds that were on stage and that are in this room, I know for a fact that they're interested in investing in Romanian businesses that sell globally, because that's the only way that you can really pitch for a VC investment. When they're looking at it, they're looking at like 30, 50x. And you cannot do 30, 50x if you start at a valuation of a few million just in country. I mean, you can, but you have to be number one in a domain. And maybe I'll let Mircea talk about that because he's one of those cases, and maybe others. But otherwise, I mean, be bold, spend time in another country or in another economy, look at the problems that you can solve there through technology, and then come back home, you know, get a team around you and build a product for that market and sell internationally.
So I guess scalability is key, to have a business that can be scalable and sold worldwide. To be started in other countries. So do not start, if you start a business here, then you start to focus on the local market that has very different needs. And I say this, but I can say this again. A lot of the businesses that I see, they tell me, you know, we're going to launch in Romania and then we're going to replicate our success in other countries. This is you know, a lot of people do that. And then I tell them, what are you based on? I mean, where is Romania replicable as a country? What other countries are similar to Romania? Like almost none. I mean, except Moldova. There's no other country that's similar to Romania. I mean, if you launch, for instance, in Kazakhstan, then you get a lot of other countries that are similar. If you launch even in a Western world, I mean, if you launch in a US state, for instance, you can replicate in other states because they're similar. But Romania is a Latin language country surrounded by Slavic language that had a very, very, very unique history that makes us unique, for better or for worse. But we're very, very unique in the whole world. So if you launch here and if you're successful here, there's nothing to demonstrate that you can be successful in any other country. That's a very interesting thought and probably applicable in many other industries. And do you see the possibility, I mean, what does it take to avoid the brain drain in this field? Like, how can we retain talent?
I think that the talent right now is not living so much anymore because, I mean, we have another challenge right now. The challenge is that a lot of the companies abroad are employing consultants. So they're paying developers directly, and they are very used now because of the pandemics with remote work. So a lot of the programmers that I know, for instance, are making a lot of money as contractors, and it's harder for them to go back to a smaller salary when they go in a startup. So I don't think that the problem is with brain drain. I think that now we have a problem like bigger countries, and I think that this is good to have, right? Because I think that 10 years after, you know, because a lot of people are talking about 10 years, you know, 10 years of innovation labs that I started, the 10 years of funds, 10 years of startups. Now we are in a normalcy. So now it's normal, you know, to have startups, to have VCs. So let's talk about, I mean, let's switch the discussion towards what are the examples of success, and how can that success be learned by others, entrepreneurs, and somehow replicated in their fields? You know, how can you go and sell abroad? What countries are more receptive of buying from a Romanian company? What type of products are, you know, easier to be sold, you know, when you come from Romania? And to switch the discussion on the business side, because if the business will go well, then the investment will come after without problems.
Thank you very much. We'll come back to you on some thoughts, but I'd like to ask Adrian right now. You have set up this angel fund, Growceanu, and by the name, I think the name is genius. It's from
de la greu la greu.
Romanian mythology, but at the end of the day, it gives the feeling that you're overpassing any hurdles, right? So sort of guaranteed success. What kind of businesses are you looking at when you take a decision to invest?
First of all, Growceanu is an angel investing platform. So basically, we're providing the tools and support for business angels to build a tech startups portfolio. We are investing in early stage in pre-seed and seed. Tickets starting from 50,000 euro to 300,000 euros per investment, and per investor, the minimum ticket is 5,000. And this is very interesting because, you know, when I started Imobiliare.ro in 2000, you know, like ages ago, we were part of Web 2.0, not 3.0, right? There was nothing in this ecosystem, like absolutely nothing. I didn't knew I'm an entrepreneur. This term was not in our head, and our first investment fund came in 2005, and the way they convinced us, so you can imagine what a totally different world we live in today. The way they convinced us was to invite us in a building here in Bucharest, and we walked through the hallways of that building, ground floor plus two other floors, and it contained basically like 80% of top 50 websites in Romania at that point. Okay, you just walked from one to another, and they had an office, and they said, "Look, this is for you." That was the investment scene, you know, in Romania at that point. And now we have multiple VC funds, and now we have angel groups. We have entrepreneurs with previous exits that are involved in this ecosystem, so it's a whole new world. On the other hand, I was, 2 weeks ago, I was in Poland, and I've seen you know, an ecosystem with 100 plus VC funds, and I keep asking them, okay, you have so many funds, but do you have deal flow? Do you have startups to invest in, right? And they were, yeah, of course, we do have. We have them. I don't know, that's what they told me. So it's like, I've seen what Romania could become probably in I don't know, 5 or 6 years in terms of a vibrant ecosystem with more VC funds, with and especially more startups that are being formed. And with Growceanu, we want to be a part of this ecosystem. Basically, we looked at high net worth individuals. It blew our mind, because we looked at high net worth individuals, 1 to 5 million in wealth. And you know how many of those are in Romania? 43,000. You know how many of those are active angel investors in Romania? Like under 500.
Very few.
You know, so 99% of the people that could invest in startups in this asset class, they are not doing it.
So you think it's a matter of mentality, or why is that? Why people with money don't feel like they have no risk appetite, or what is the?
Real estate is very clear and cool, and you know, it's something that you could do easily, and the probability of depreciation to zero, it's pretty low, right? Stock exchange, it's pretty straightforward. You know how to do it. It's easy to do. You have education. You have tools. It's a low barrier to entry, right? But when you look at this asset class, investing startups, it's a lot more complicated. Like a lot more complicated. You need to identify good startups. You need to run a due diligence process. You need to make the whole investment. And on top of that, you need to build a portfolio, right, in order to lower the risk. It's not so easy. And maybe the trickiest things of all is the liquidity of this asset class. When you think of real estate, you can sell a property, right? It takes a while, but you can sell it. In stock exchange, you can sell fast. But then the selling proposition for a high net worth individual in this asset class is pretty complex, you know? You invest now, and you will sell, you will exit. Someday, it's not really up to you, because it needs to be a new round with another investor when you have the opportunity to sell. you don't really set the terms, so it's a much more complex asset class, much more complex product. But still the opportunity is there. So I think we truly believe in Growceanu. This is why we're doing it, because I was exiting Imobiliare, and instead of, I don't know, staying in my sabbatical year, I started to work on Growceanu because of this opportunity, you know. There are 5 million high net worth individuals in Europe, in this interval, 1 to 5 million wealth, 5 million, and most of them are not investing in startups. And they could invest. We need to lower the barrier.
But the ticket entry, you said it's fairly low, so I guess you will be looking at a very wide range of opportunities, right?
Yes, you have multiple layers here. You have the crowdfunding where you have retail investors with small tickets. You don't need to be a millionaire to invest in through crowdfunding, right? Then you have this 1 to 5 million layer where you already built some business. You've proven some expertise in an industry, because this is how you make 1 million or more. And then if you're over 5 million in wealth, you're most likely an LP type of client. You have the money and you don't have the time, or I don't know, the drive to contribute further. So we need to create better tools and lower the entry barrier for these kinds of high net worth individuals, to make this portfolio building in tech startups portfolio building, to make it more accessible, more predictable, you know? Like you can use an app to do this, not
organize 10 meetings and 3 presentations.
Exactly, like going through a learning process of 12 months and then making the first investment, and then it should be much, much more easy. And this is what we're doing in Growceanu.
That's very nice, and I hope many of the people here today will join such investments.
Yeah, I hope. And maybe one more thing,
yes.
Because I totally agree with Andrei about thinking at least regional businesses. You know, I made this mistake with Imobiliare, with Imobiliare.ro. You know, we thought every time we thought about going in other country, the answer was, yeah, you know, but the local market, it's pretty good. We should be comfortable here, like really strong in this market, and then move to another market. And it was a bad decision, because we missed every opportunity to go in other countries. Those markets were open, were completely open. We could have gone there, not in a perfect way, not in a stellar way, you know, but we could have been a regional player. But the Romanian market was good enough, you know. Fortunately, we were number one, and we managed to do a good exit after many years, you know. But we under-addressed the market opportunity. We're not doing the same mistake with Growceanu now, right? So we're thinking at a regional level, we're going at a regional level, we're building a regional business, not Romanian one.
Great. On the regional point, I agree. I mean, Romania is the second largest market in Central Eastern Europe after Poland, and you've mentioned Poland, that is, I don't know how many times bigger than Romania in this market. We shouldn't. We should be closer to them. That's at least the closest example we have. And from my experience working with investors, different investors, from private equity, institutional investors, and independent energy producers, especially, they all look at this as a region. Nobody comes to invest only in Romania. We're just too small, at least from my perspective. So I totally agree with that. Expansion from Romania regionally. Ana Maria, please tell us a little bit, how did you come up with the idea to develop robotics? This is usually, I guess, at least from my sort of perspective, if you had asked me, a feature of large companies that have big pockets to invest in this domain. And how responsive is the Romanian market to use these services?
I will try to answer as briefly as I can. I started this because I come from the NGO world. I worked for 20 years and I wrote projects all my life to get money for what I wanted to do. In the field of democracy and human rights, but also in the field of vulnerable groups. And at some point, I got tired of begging for money from corporation or anything else, especially for digital education, which everybody says they need, but when you go to companies to give money to do education in schools, digital education, they focus only on university and some of them high school, which is a really bad strategy. So I got nervous and I said, okay, I need to do my own money, produce my own money so I can do my own project. So I wrote this project in 2017 for Startup Nation, the first edition, because the other two I wouldn't have qualified. So I was very lucky to do this. We bought the 2 robots, which currently we don't use anymore because they were so, now looking back, they were very poor. But then we started building the fleet of robots. That's why I'm called Robot Fleet Admiral, because we have a whole fleet. For now, we are integrators. Of course, I dream of building our robot. But now I can tell you that the robotics and automation industry is the underdog in the investment. And not only in hardware, but if you remember the story of UiPath, nobody invested in them. My feeling is that venture capital should put aside some money for crazy ideas, which have a plan. But the idea is that you will make more money from a crazy idea that someday will actually become reality, like UiPath did, than just invest in, I don't know, application that if somebody bigger or with a better team can do it tomorrow better than you can. Of course, this also happens in hardware, but there it's another aspect. When we started in 2017, we were the only one on the market. Nobody in Romania had humanoid robots. And we started with the idea of renting the robots for events. But later on, we realized that if you rent the robot for a bank event, the other banks will not want to have the same robot because they cannot share the same technology. So we realized that we need to change a little bit what we are doing. And we started doing marketing and education in this field. And of course, some other companies started copying this model. I can tell you that one company took the distribution of this robot in Romania because they had 10 millions which they put into buying them. And now they went bankrupt, because their model was only to sell robots. And Romania is not at all a market for selling robots. I have to say that during these years, I learned a lot, but mostly because this is how for several years I monitored public policy. So my background is to look, analyze, see what can be done better. I'm doing the same in this company. The idea is the following, that Mr. PITIŠ was saying that you cannot scale from here because there are not similar market. But I can tell you one thing, here in Romania, I can meet with the CEO of Kaufland, Carrefour, or OMV or Microsoft or whatever I want, I can meet the CEO here, which in other countries you cannot do. So Romania, it's a very good country to prototype and then use the multinational to go into other countries. For example, yes, we have some particularities in our countries, but for example, if you do a retail robot like we dream of for some years, I think I will give up this idea because the other solutions are coming up on the market. But the idea is that if you go to a hypermarket here, do a proof of concept, an MVP, then they can promote you further if it's a good product to their entire network. So from my point of view, Romania, it is a good country to prototype and then to go outside. I mean, this is what we would like to do. Again, Romania is not a good market to sell robots. We have the lowest number of robots in the entire Europe. So,
do you think this is because we are fairly conservative and we don't want to replace humans with humanoids, or what do you think?
Because
is the money?
we're cheap.
It's the money element.
It's very simple.
It's
and the
cost.
labor cost, it's very cheap here in
Still.
Romania. So a robot in Germany, for example, has a return of investment in 6 months. In Romania, it's 2 to 3 years. So here, where nobody thinks longer
Ahead.
than 2 months, let's say, even the public functionaries, you cannot expect to do sales with a return of investment somewhere later on.
Makes sense. I mean, unfortunately. So, and one last point I wanted you to make: how important is the policy, or rather, how challenging is that you also lead the coalition for digital education, right? So, do you think you get traction with advocating for?
I can tell you that 3 years ago, if you look at all the financing lines, you couldn't see anywhere robotics and automation. If you look now, it's in every single program, not only digitalization, which is on everybody's mouth, but robotics and automation. And that's because I did advocacy every single day. Probably our company would be more successful if I stopped doing that. But I feel that this is the critical time in Romania when we can actually do a change. Yesterday and today, we had in our office prefects and sub-prefects from Romania, which is not really a simple thing to bring some high-level public functionary to your headquarters. And we had a training for them for an hour and a half, explaining new technologies. The problem is that now we have funds for digitalization, but nobody knows what exactly is that.
Yes, you need
They
projects
don't know IoT, big data, cloud computing, RPA. They have no idea what that is. So unless you go and do some trainings for them and present them some potential solution, you cannot do it. But on the other hand, when you think you're getting there, one of the prefects was telling me that they have digital signatures, only they are not using it because the legislation needs authentic signature on the paper. We also try to talk in hospital to see if we can do an app for them, for patients. The problem is not to make an app. Anyone can make an app. The problem is how do you integrate the processes in the hospital, and you cannot do it with the current legislation. It's very complicated because, again, you need the signature and stamp of the doctor in order for everything to be okay. And one other thing they were telling us, because I was explaining to them the concept of digitalization, and digital transformation, we are still at digitization.
Yes.
Because I was telling them about big data and machine learning, but we have no data to work with. I mean, what machine learning? With what? And this is where we are right now, and we also need to change policies in order for this to be able to happen. But we need more people to get involved in this. I cannot participate in all debates and keep knocking on their doors. It's, I assume I took this decision that this year I will let a little bit go to the company because we made some money during the pandemics, I have to say that, with the disinfection robot, and focus on the advocacy side, because if we are not doing this now, when we have the money in PNRR, it might be too late.
Advocacy, raising awareness, education, but also having eligible projects, because the money will go only to eligible projects, and if we are talking about public institutions, they also need advisory to develop the project.
This is one of the things they were saying.
Yes.
ADR Oltenia has millions of euros, and they were saying, I don't know who will access them because they have no idea what to put in the project.
This is, I think, a common thread throughout all the segments in the industry in Romania and the economy. And I guess on this point of digitalization, we'll also speak more with Mr. Ionuț CIUBOTARU. But Let's hear from Mircea. I wanted to ask, especially, of course, what was the sort of the key ingredient for growing your first business and to be able to make an exit? Was it because the software was efficient, user-friendly, the cost? What do you think was the key success element?
Actually, I asked myself this question a lot, even 10 years after we started SmartBill, and we were #1 in a very small market after the very first year. And I asked myself, what did we do right? And I think I'm pretty sure we did some things right. To put some context, we started, it was a T0 moment in 2007 when we entered the European Union, where you could for the first time issue invoices on the computer and not pre-printed old school ones. And many very small players like us started, oh, what an idea, let's do an invoicing software. And Radu, our CEO, had this idea, let's build a software and issue invoices on the computer, and we could also sell it. And before we launched, and Radu and Ioana coded nights in a row, others appeared. And we were like, should we even launch this? Because they started earlier than us, and they also were cheaper than we planned to launch. And after all, of course, in the 13th of April, we launched, and we started receiving phone calls from people that were saying, hey, I love your software, but it doesn't really work for me. So what we did right was, without knowing, because we had zero business experience, zero financial support, the story of SmartBill is one that is, let's say, inspirational, but not aspirational. So it's a nice and a story that you can learn from, but it's not something you want to replicate, because starting with zero know-how and zero finance, you have almost zero chance of succeed. Also in a market, as Andrei said, that is not sexy at all, and trust me, the Romanian market is not sexy. So the chances were against us, but yet we did some things very right, I think. And the first one was that we really understood, without knowing, we really understood the need that we were solving. And the need we were solving was not to issue invoices, because all others issued the invoices. Many others were cheaper than us. Actually, all of them was cheaper than ours, and many of them had more features. So it was puzzling, why us? The pain we were solving was that we took away the pain from issuing invoices. Complicated software, even if they did more, they were painful to use. It was like when you opened them, it was like you were receiving a punch in the face from the screen. So we were in a business that was like self-service for cheap. It was cheap, it was 300 lei back then. And it was lifetime license. So in this kind of business, you cannot stay with the customer if you sell an ERP that is very complex and you get tens of thousands of euros for it. Okay, it can be crappy in terms of interface and user experience because it solves a big need, and you will have trainers that stay with the company and show them how to use the product. But we were in a business that was self-service, so the customer had to fall in love with the product. So in the end, they said, okay, I want to give money to these people. And now back to the market. I think this was a situation, it was a market like either there are tens of mediocre, crappy players, or it's a market where it's a big player, again, big in terms of Romanian size companies. Either there's a big player and all the others are small, and the truth was most of the others that started with us disappeared. There are 2, 3 left now, and none of them is more like 5–10% as the size that SmartBill is nowadays. New ones appeared, and the story goes on. So happily for us, SmartBill is like still 10–20 times bigger than the other direct competitors. So we were the one that could grow in a very small market. As Andrei said, Romania is not a good market to grow in, especially if you build software dedicated to SMBs or customers. Maybe if you build enterprise software or enterprise solutions, you can start going to CEOs in Romania and then go abroad, but the SMB and the consumer markets in Romania, especially for software, are close to inexistent, so I also recommend go abroad. I met many entrepreneurs during these 16 years because SmartBill itself is about entrepreneurs. It's the entrepreneurial company that has most entrepreneur customers in Romania. So we have like 80,000 customers. I think half of the banks in Romania have less customers than we have in terms of, so only large corporations have more customers in SMB. So entrepreneurs are the life of SmartBill. And I've heard this story many times. Oh, we're going to start local and then learn here and go international. I think this is super toxic. Don't do this. You will probably never go outside. Because time is of the essence. You lose time, you lose money, you lose focus, you lose the chance. So if you can go a bigger market, go directly in a big market. Don't start here. It's an excuse that we tend to have. We also were frustrated that we didn't go international. We tried the version for the US. They crushed us because it was not a new business. There is Intuit there, who is from the 80s when we were born, and we are not that young anymore. And they had billions and the brand, and so there was no room for us. We also went to India, and we couldn't have focus. Our industry is one, and this is also important to understand your industry, is one that is very, very, very localized, so it's very difficult to move to other markets. Also, this was an advantage because for other big players was too complicated to come in Romania, and it happened in 2020 when Visma acquired us. So not even them came to compete with us. They acquired the biggest player in the market. So we tried to go international, but it was complicated. It was also late. So if you start international, start. For us, it worked out because beyond and besides money, it's the, let's say, human factor. And for me, it's really nice because wherever I go, literally wherever I go, there are people that use SmartBill, know SmartBill. And that's really rewarding, honestly. It's really rewarding to meet people that are happy with your product and say, hey, like, you are the guys that did this, I really like your product. So it's also, this is a part of, let's say, building a successful business.
Satisfaction.
Yes, it's a personal satisfaction. Also, now as we have so many customers, there are also more, the issues are more, and people also come to me and, hey, that doesn't work for me, and I'm like, please.
Sorry to interrupt, just mindful of the time. I wanted to ask, but if you have maybe a little bit, a couple of minutes more, okay. On the Tokero, I understand that you're investing in...
Oh, this is painful. No, I didn't invest in.
No? Okay. Just one line, and what do you think the future of cryptocurrency is? Because the global market is estimated right now, I think, at the $1.4 trillion as of last year, and it's been growing a lot. So just one line, whether
honestly,
you believe in it or
it's
not.
very funny that I'm asked about crypto, as I have very, very small investments in this area. I believe crypto is here to stay. I don't think the coins that are now are necessarily here to stay, so I don't necessarily believe in one or the other. I think crypto in general will be part of the world we live in. And I like Tokero because I like the team, I like Marius. I think it's a neutral player that doesn't promise the moon. And they realize they have an 80-20, that they're very successful among Romanian SMBs.
Okay.
That's why they contacted me, and that's what I liked.
Thanks a lot. Last but not least, I'd like to ask Mr. Ionuț CIUBOTARU on his challenges in promoting innovation, investing in new technology. OMV Petrom is the largest oil and gas producer, integrated services in South and Eastern Europe. the biggest tax contributor in Romania, probably I don't know if it's the largest employer. A lot is, let's say, expected in terms of from the oil and gas companies in terms of the energy transition, and the investments in new technologies are not always self-sufficient. We are talking maybe hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, and other things. Please tell us how challenging it is to finance this kind of investments. Where do you see the future of the companies in oil and gas to be able to innovate? And also maybe you can tell us a little bit on how important is the ESG element, the environmental, social governance, from the perspective of securing financing when you do this project. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I will start with our role in terms of, or in regards of startups and of SMEs actually, you know. So we are somehow seeing this category of companies from two angles. And the first one is our customers. So yeah, we know that SMEs are the backbone of European economy. I heard also on the panel before. So indeed, they are the customers that we are referring to, and we are trying to adjust our offer, our products, our way of reaching them. But today we are talking, and we need to talk about SMEs that are helping us in implementing our strategies and our plan. And here, maybe most of you knows, we already launched our strategy. Indeed, Petrom is the largest energy integrated player in Southeast Europe. And also, our strategy is quite ambitious. I mean, until end of the decade, we will invest 11 billion euro. And out of this, a big portion is on the energy transition. Energy transition, which, yes, comprises hydrogen, carbon capture, renewables, alternative mobility, biofuels, all these very important pillars of the energy transitions. And here we need the support of innovators, and mostly these innovators are coming from startups. I'm looking personally and together with my team on such environments since a while. I saw a lot of disappointments in my previous speakers, my previous panel colleagues, but I do think that the things are going still on the right direction. I can express also our frustration in respect of startups and of startup environment. But I can tell you that, look, for example, whenever we are looking to invest and whenever we are looking for a partnership at the end of the day, because this is how we want to implement our strategy, by finding the right partners and then trying to develop those partnerships. And whenever I personally look, and together with my colleagues, we are assessing any idea against at least 3 big criteria. One is to be innovative or green. Yeah, or both, actually. This is very important. So this is something that we look at. Then we need to think if that idea is scalable. So of course we will always see, as we mentioned, we see ourselves here also for the next, I don't know, 50 years, 100 years, or whatsoever. Yeah, we have a long history of gas and oil and gas in Romania, starting with 110 years ago. So we will hope that we'll be here also in the future. And then the third criteria is the feasibility from the financial point of view. I mean, indeed, you can have a lot of ideas, you can have a lot of whatsoever initiatives, but at the end of the day, those initiatives have to be financially sustainable and then feasible. Without this, without being without being economical, feasible, no one will invest in. Yeah, so these are the criteria that we are looking for. We explained this, and yes, I saw on the market that there is a lack of education. It was mentioned previously that there is this big need of educating startups, educating authorities, educating even companies or corporations. And I also saw some initiatives, the ones that I'm also part of, by scaling up or trying to help startups in order to develop their strategies, to develop their plans, to teach them how to speed up with their objectives and so on. But still, there is an issue. And referring to the green side and to this sustainable part of startups, I can tell that we had an event. We, OMV Petrom, it was organized the first event with the European Innovation Council in Eastern Europe for a company. You know, they are organizing this kind of company day or something like this. We were the first one in Eastern Europe. And guess what? There is no Romanian company pitching in that. So we had, I think we had a list of 54 companies, something like that, but none of them have been Romanian. This is first. Then second is that whenever, and as I said, I'm looking for this innovation quite actively actually, and whenever I'm going to talk to people and to talk to startups, I see that on the scale of maturity, the level of maturity is very, very low. I mean, there are a lot of ideas, but not real project, not real initiatives on the paper, you know, or somehow with having the clear objective, having the clear agenda, and so on. And this is where I think we need to work, all of us. Yeah, we are willing to do so. As I mentioned, we do have the money, we do have the willingness. Of course, for us, at the end of the day, is a must. We need to move, you know, from the existing status quo to the next status with lower carbon emissions. So we will do this anyway. Of course, we need help. We need help, not help, but we need to partner with startups. From the innovation point of view, and also we need startups and we need SMEs in order to implement. I mean, whenever we have a big project, of course you need to work with someone to implement, and not always we have internal resources, always looking for partners, and for companies will be very good to be from Romania to work. And for example, now we are starting to build some big photovoltaic parks, you know, and by assessing the market, we saw that there is no company in Romania able to build such big, I mean, a big scale investment. So we need to also work, and we are willing to do this. We are willing to contribute, and this is why actually we support this event, for example, and trying to contribute to the development of this environment.
Great, thank you very much. So I guess the theme from zero to hero, the challenges are from ideas to implementation, to bringing ideas to life. Also to have the courage, I guess, to invest in high risk, high reward projects like robotics. I think some of the takeaways is definitely if we start up, if we have a DNA of being a startup nation, like Israel was mentioned here. I don't know if there is something in Romania, in resources in that respect. We need to nurture them. We need to help these people who have this idea to bring them to life. And some takeaways have a regional view, but start in Romania if you want to test create a prototype, and because you can have the way, I guess, the market is fairly small, you can have access to decision makers that can give you a chance to test your prototype. And last but not least, besides the appetite of the funds, angel funds, venture capital, we also have large companies that are very, very important to be part of all of this ecosystem in developing the startups. Sorry we ran out of time, but I thought it was a very interesting discussion. I would have had more questions. Thank you very much, my colleagues, panelists, and the organizers.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause for our speakers. Thank you very much again. We end the second panel now.